I'm Belle Bear. This is Sacred Mechanics.
Hey everyone, welcome to Sacred Mechanics. Thanks for tuning in. So, indeed, it was a bad new moon hangover that I'd mentioned in my last episode, which was a full moon ago. Here we are again on the new moon in Sagittarius. It's December 19, I'm not sure, but I'm sitting here in Australia and the new moon will not hit actually for another 24 hours approximately. But I wanted to get in early so that you could listen to this around the exact time of the new moon and welcome in maybe a whole new era, a whole new personal era. There's a lot of talk about how powerful this new moon is, and I've really been taking a back seat the last month on my own spiritual practice per se and looking into others' spiritual practices, belief systems, points of view, ways of looking at the world and our times. And it's been a real education and really interesting. I'm a constant learner, as we all are really, but it's just whether you embrace it and enjoy it or not is another thing. I personally really love it. And I've been paying a lot of attention to astrologers right now. Obviously, Three-Eye Atlas is a whole other thing that's given a really interesting flavor to all of the astrology of the moment, and also the Edgar Cayce prophecies about this ascension or this threshold or new gateway into a new era for us on this solstice coming up. It's the summer solstice here in Australia on the 21st of December and the winter solstice for you lucky people in the north right now with your snow and cold weather, which we're probably wishing for the opposite. It's about 10 in the morning here and it's 30 degrees and I'm sitting in my car running in the shade with the air conditioning on just to have a break from the climate while you may be a snuggled fireside or at least warm, I hope, somewhere cozy. Now, as I mentioned, I've been spending a lot of time looking at astrologers and I've been doing so on YouTube. Some very excellent ones, very knowledgeable ones, very kind, philosophical ones, and some that are a bit more like, I'm not sure how you describe them, a bit more like pop culture astrologers, sort of youthful and zippy, and others that are very, I would consider really over dramatic, and some that just waffle on and it's really takes them an hour to get to a point, so that's been a bit difficult. But there's so much out there if you're getting into astrology or wanting to follow it, or you're very knowledgeable yourself, just to hear the opinions of others looking at the same chart, but that interpretation. And it really is important who is interpreting that astrological data. It's absolutely fascinating. It's a wonderful art and science or craft even. It merges many parts of our intellectual faculty together. I think there's the creative interpretation, but it also helps if you have certain knowledge of history, math, obviously, political perspectives, psychological perspectives, also that empathetic point of view where you're helping others that have come in to listen to your interpretation astrologically. So it's such a huge world. I love it. With the astrology right now, it seems more important than anything. We're looking to the sky for answers now, because I will never speak of political things on this podcast, but I feel like we are like a shopping cart on fire, careering down a hill, heading for a glass house. It's just like hands are off the wheel a little bit, depending on what trajectory you're following and what your timeline is. And I try not to get too immersed in the news and everything that's going on, but it's a little bit hard to ignore. You've got to agree that it's really in our face now. And it's important to stay aligned to your own personal timeline and perspective of the feelings that you want to garner and nurture in your own life, because where you look is where you'll go, and thoughts are things. We know all of this, so we have to be careful what we harvest in the garden of our mind, because that is what will grow and that is what we become and what we put out there into the world for others. So it's quite a tightrope walk to see and acknowledge the outside world, not ignore it, be empathetic, be informed, be aware of things so that you're not trampled by the powers that be or situations that are going on around us. But then to hold our own ground personally, privately, quietly on what we stand for and what we're going to do personally for ourselves and the ones we love and the people we care about in our community, to hold the ground in a completely different way. And that's the more illuminated path, I suppose, that we're all being drawn to. This sort of leans into this speak of this portal or this ascension moment, or this great awakening that is spoken of abundantly everywhere in the New Age circles, spiritual circles, but it is hyper abstract. This is language that I was first introduced to in my early 20s, so like 30 years ago, a long time. But it's still a little bit abstract to me because it's stuff we can't see or hold so much, but it's feelings and it's experiences and impressions. And maybe things become more real in the improvement of our existence here on this plane if we are able to share it with others that are like-minded and understand what we're saying. For sure, it's been really funny as a professional psychic medium that I'm feeling more psychic in the little things that are still fun. Like every day that I have a psychic insight or impression, I'm grateful and surprised. It just doesn't get old. I'm always surprised every day that I can still do it. But the classic thing of thinking of someone and the phone rings, just knowing something or preempting something or packing something just in case. This, would normally happen to all of us from time to time. Now it's on a daily basis, like it's becoming a real thing. Sharing a conversation and almost having telepathic ideas with close friends and loved ones. This is all like at a higher level now, and I'm wondering if you are all experiencing this. I'd love to hear if you are, but I kind of think you are, and you will be, if not now, really soon. So back to this new moon. Of course, go listen to some really good astrologers. There's heaps. I might list my favorites in the show notes actually, because I'm in my car and can't think of names right now, or especially their social media or YouTube handles. But there's some really well-balanced, well-informed and highly intelligent people that are able to deliver this information properly. But what I want you to know from a practical and grounded point of view is, if you're going to make a fresh start and imagine who you want to be moving forward and what old skin can be shed, this is your day. This is your moment. This is your weekend. It's time to let go of stuff you don't want to come on the trip with you, pack a new little bag, put on a new outfit, and get out there exactly how you want. And more than ever, do not worry what other people think. I think we need to stop bending over backwards for people, trying to please others. And we do it on such a deep subconscious level that we by far lose sight of who we really are and what our inner desires are to pull us forward in this evolution of our life. Everything gets clouded, and this feels like a perfect opportunity to withdraw our interests of what other people may or may not be thinking of us and be exposed to the clarity of our heart's desire, our soul desire. Why are we here? TikTok, come on, let's get going. it doesn't last forever, this life here, and we're here to do certain things and to feel certain things and love in a certain way, see things, touch things, and just use these senses, all of our senses that we've been blessed with here. Make the most of it. Feel like from this new moon or this spiritual uplifting that will be occurring through this, I suppose, this gateway, maybe our senses will be more easily tantalized. Maybe everything will feel more in a good way. And maybe our vibration is stronger so that when we feel love for someone or something, that is amplified and that the recipient gets more benefit from these feelings. Maybe our energy healing and our energy work is amplified. Maybe our psychic faculty is here to heal and serve and inform others as well. I mean, only good can come out of this. The only way is upright. There's also a fair bit of talk about not needing so much and we'll be happy, but I just feel this is a bit doomy depending on who's saying it. But as a personal choice, it's good to consider the burden or weight of things in your environment. How much stuff do you need? How much clothes do you need? Are you in a space that's too big for you? Like what's happening for you with consumption? Do you want to have less so you can just be you and take yourself with you wherever you go instead of lugging all this other stuff? Like, does it make you feel good or happy to have that spring clean or scrub things back to like new instead of getting more stuff? This whole concept of minimalism and just clearing out clutter, because these things that we travel with us can be a burden. They're often things that we cling to and move around with. Like I'm as guilty as the next person doing this. I keep because they're full of my perception of a memory or energy, but there are absolutely energies and memories that are within us and maybe not so much in the object anymore, that we could let some things go onto the next user or person, or just let them disintegrate somewhere. That's not in our immediate space. Personally, I'm starting to put my investment into experiences, buying time for myself instead of things. It's the way I see things now too, and I'm trying to instill this a little bit in my kids as well without ruining all their fun. But, you know, my grown daughters, I'm like, yes, you could have that handbag, or you could travel overseas somewhere and have an amazing experience that you will remember the rest of your life and things like that. And I know a lot of us realize this, but it feels more than ever that we're at a critical point, that every asset or opportunity we have to invest or spend money or acquire things, it's really needing to serve something on a much more deeper level and not a superficial idea of appearance. And if it is of appearance, it needs to make you feel great, feel special, feel wonderful, and that it feeds your mind, body, spirit more than just others perceiving you. I know you know what I mean with that, which dovetails nicely into what I think of Christmas. I love the solstice celebrations. I used to really find Christmas fun when my children were small for them, because it was very exciting naturally, because at Christmas time a lot of the West is geared toward kids having fun at Christmas. But generally, I don't really like it much anymore. And it's so obvious that it's a forced celebration of capitalism. Where it's a mechanism where we have to buy and give for our loved ones, or else it's the biggest guilt trip from hell, right? Because imagine if you announce to your family and your best friends that you're not doing Christmas because it's capitalist. Like, you can't just suddenly change that. I don't think people will take it that well. I know my family, we give very small, simple gifts the last 5 or 10 years because, who can afford it? But I'd just like to cancel it and have a much more spiritual experience around the solstice, and not a spiritual experience when I get my credit card bill after spending 2 weeks in the mall panic shopping in time for the festive season. Yeah, so I've had to buy in again this year, but it's like a life goal that I'll get to a stage where all of these forced purchases of making sure everyone's sort of met a certain quota and they've all got the right amount of gifts, that we can sort of turn a corner on this and make it something else. In a more idealistic world, this would be really cool. And I'm sure there's so many families and even spiritual faiths that have mastered this festive season to not be about how much stuff you need to buy and get for everyone, and also receiving. It's sort of embarrassing that we just can't get past this. But it's not easy, right? We're in this hell of a, consumerism, this machine. It's a big mechanism. And if anything, during this time, the mechanism is just more obvious than ever. And I think the first step is being able to see it and see the manipulation of everything. That these expectations are put upon us, and it's wallpapered on the streets we walk on, the screens we look at. It's just a lot. It really does get under your skin, especially after a lifetime of it, eh? So just tracking back to this last new moon, I had this really strong desire to not be sucked into this vortex of AI and the monopoly of our attention, and everything. So I've been moving all of my digital stuff, and I'm an Aquarian. I love my gadgets and I love my digital spaces like a lot. I'm insane. Plus I'm, a graphic designer by trade. So yeah, we love our gadgets and photography and video and all of that. But I started by moving all my Gmail and email accounts to a more private provider. And then I got a dumb phone, and I've set up this separate phone number with this very simple, difficult to use phone that doesn't even have a color screen. It's just phone numbers, and it's taken me a little while to remember how to type the old way and everything for SMS. But I'm going to move into next year starting to use that, much to the shock of my friends and family, that they're sending me these big long messages and I have to reply with 5 words because that'll take me 10 minutes to type anyway. But it's this purposeful slowing down and unplugging where possible. I was going to delete my Instagrams, but I'm not quite ready for that yet. I've just taken the app off the smartphone that I use for all of these practical things like recording this podcast. And so it keeps me off it, because I was definitely wasting a lot of time there scrolling, looking to see what my engagement was on a few Instagrams that I have that correlate to the businesses I run. It's really tricky, but we need to have other ways, because until we start disengaging from those powers over us, we don't have much of a chance to fully embrace who we are completely. Even if it's for a short dedicated time where you can just cold turkey something that's taking your attention, and to take some time to go inward and feel who you are, what you want, what's your real driver, what makes you happy, what makes your heart sing. You can't do this from scrolling. You can't do this from having monitored inboxes from Gmail and Google and being watched by Big Brother every move you make. So wherever you can identify this in your life that it's just superfluous and you just don't need anymore, get rid of it. Maybe it's time that we start buying local a bit more and shopping local and stop the whole Amazon frenzy, whole robot thing, the whole AI thing, it's just galloping out of control, and I don't like it. But you know what? We still have power. We still know how to get seeds and grow new trees ourselves and all of this. So it's sort of like an exciting challenge of trying to unplug bits and just retain the essentials digitally, because technology is absolutely wonderful on the other hand. And it's just trying to find your own personal balance of what the best of both worlds is, like this podcast and me being able to now host it on Substack and have my course for sale on some other little site that's not driven by a major machine, and things like that, where I can just go a bit smaller and just a bit less megalithic, I think. A bit more boutique is a good word. Yeah. Okay, that was a long rant. That's maybe not that spiritual, just anti-capitalism rant. Anti-consumerism, but we all need it a bit. Of course, we need our comforts, and we're very lucky. We're so lucky to have what we do have. But the line has been drawn, I think, in the recent years and the years to come. We have to draw the line. Like, we've got our comforts, but we're now losing them. We're at this tipping point with inflation and quote unquote leadership and things like that, where when did we give away our own, like our self-leadership? When did that happen? Was it while we were sitting there scrolling and posting pictures of our breakfast smoothies that this happened? Like, we have to look up now. Look up at the sky, follow that astrology. But on top of that, we have to look up in our daily life, look people in the eye, engage in a different way. Who's your neighbor? Do you know? Let's just do that a bit more. I think it's going to be a really interesting year coming up. There's going to be challenges, but we have been born into this world fully equipped. We've chosen to be here at this time, and I don't know about you, but I take this challenge and I accept it, to go against the tide and hold on to as much of my personal sovereignty as possible without having to give away too much hard-earned comfort, health, and wealth. I believe you're allowed to be both. I think it's a mistake to think that you can't be spiritual and a good person and not have some abundance. I think it's a little bit difficult if people are trying to tell you, well, you can't be spiritual and rich or abundant. I don't like the word rich so much because, that means a lot of different things to other people. Abundant is a bit more generic because personally our abundance varies greatly on how we classify that, materially or energetically or spiritually, maybe even circumstantially. All right, I'm going to hop subjects now. I may have mentioned in the past, or if you're new here, I'll just let you know that I run my own little boutique publishing company where it's called Fauun, Fauun, Fauun.com. You can have a look at it. And what I do is I receive guidance on old books, not actually always in public domain, old books, spiritual books, really interesting books that are either much loved by everyone and it's hard to get a good, decent copy with nice, clear printing and design, books that have been overlooked, books that have been forgotten, books that have never really been seen, usually from 100 years ago or so, some older, some a bit fresher than that. But what it gives is this most intriguing catalog. It's like a spiritual catalog of information, stories, books that pose questions, books that for their time, in the late 19th century, were scientific, and now it's really interesting to look at them now here in 2025, going into 2026, what these ideas, like how they sit now. Some of them age really well. I've only published about a dozen books, or maybe a bit more now, and there's a few more in the pipeline right now that'll be going to print really soon. And there's this one book I'm proofreading at the moment that I've just about ready to hit the green light on, and it's called The Blue Island by W.T. Stead. And W.T. Stead was a British journalist in early 1900s. This particular gentleman was passenger of the Titanic on that fated trip in 1912 and passed away. He was also into spiritualism, and so was his daughter and her friends. And it turns out, cut a long story short, he channels this book to his daughter through psychic mediums called The Blue Island, where he lucidly is able to describe his afterlife experience and the situation he finds himself in his day-to-day existence after death. It's not a long book, but it's very fascinating. And coincidentally, a few weeks ago, my teenage daughter, she's 17 now, was asking me about life after death. You know, where do you live? What do you look like? What do you wear? Do you eat? And where are your friends? And can you see Earth? And all of this stuff. And I was trying to give her answers best I could. So it was not scary and not too enticing either, just, neutral. And it turns out this book is exactly this. It explains everything from one person's perspective. At that time, I think this book was dated 1921 or 22. Really cool read, actually. So I think I'm going to find more books like this and books that are referred to in this book, and just keep pulling this thread of these old spiritualist books. They're brilliant. I love them. This inquiry into life after death. And on top of that, also Theosophy. I'm also doing the Astral Plane book by C.W. Leadbeater. Is it C.W.? Yes, Leadbeater. And it's about the astral plane and all of the aspects to it that we obviously experience now as sensitive people, empathic people, psychic people. And he puts an explainer on a lot of it. And there is a lot of information out there, but it's really enjoyable, I think, to go back to source information on these books that the people writing them 100 years ago or even more would have been referring to more ancient texts and more knowledgeable teachers and masters. So it feels like they're a bit closer to the source than we are now, where we've got this handed down information. I think it's really cool to just go back and try and get a slightly cleaner version that hasn't been interpreted over and over again of the same thing, like on YouTube or something, where people are making videos of other people's videos and it just goes on and on and on. To find those words right from the beginning, I love working with primary spiritual texts as well, but they have been translated into English if you're an English speaker, or in other languages. So that's such an interesting world of finding other translations as well, and also communing with these texts and these books and this spiritual information, and then meditating with that and feeling how this information is resonating with you, and does it feel true? Is it still correct in this age? Are things shifting, or are they always true? It's really fascinating stuff. I'll also put links in the show notes regarding that too, if you're interested. Of course, with public domain books as well, these books that I'm preparing and that I sell, they're public domain. You can find copies for free online. You don't need to buy a Fauun book. It's just the work I do is I retype and redo the whole thing so it's freshly printed. Sometimes I've fixed some punctuation or whatever. weird stuff that comes up, because with some of the old scans of the books, they're not as legible and they're a bit clunky. I just wanted to have some of these texts reprinted and redesigned as if they were brand new. And my eyesight isn't awesome, so my books are paperback and they're on really high quality paper. Not super expensive, just paperback prices, but it's a large-ish print, not tiny like the Penguin books. So it's a bit more of a comfortable read, and I've designed them so that they're like a collectible thing, a bit like Penguin Classics. So all the books are the same size, and the design follows a similar theme and that sort of thing. Anyway, there you go. Shameless plug on Fauun, my somewhat new little publishing company. Okay, well, I'm not sure what other things I'm going to touch on right now until the next episode, which maybe I commit to doing one next week after we've gone through this solstice, ascension, gateway, portal. Who knows? Maybe we'll all be levitating 6 foot in the air by next week. No one knows what's coming, and maybe with 3i Atlas passing at its closest point to Earth within the next 24 hours, there'll be some major downloads there as well. Do take the time to meditate, be still within yourself, and if you dare, jump onto YouTube. There's so much material. Some of it's a bit madcap and crazy. Some of it's really intelligent and thoroughly researched. Take your pick. It's highly entertaining. I think either way, learning more about this seems like a very poignant moment no matter what. And the sacred mechanics of the universe are working in our favor, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes, and it gets a little bit scary or a little bit confronting. You are strong, you are more powerful than you know, and you are beautiful. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. I'm Belle Bear, and this is Sacred Mechanics.